let's move on to a separate kind of a kind of discrimination that religious minorities face, and this is working class minorities, जिनके साथ ज़्यादती होती है, जिनके साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, उनको इक्वल पे नहीं मिलती, इनको इक्वल जॉब्स की एक्सेस नहीं होती। और इसके ऊपर मैरी जेम्स ने काफ़ी ज़्यादा काम किया हुआ है। शी हैज़ डन अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क ऑन स्वीपर्स एंड सैनिटेशन वर्कर्स, सैनिटरी वर्कर्स इन स्पेशली इन पंजाब, and how they face this kind of discrimination. Mary, in your work, have you seen religion being politicized, and how, and what would you like to say? How does this reinforce their social exclusion?
Thank you very much, Zari. It's a great honor, and I think platforms like that are our only hope where we can speak about such challenges. But I'd like to put another question, which is a bit complex but very relevant to what we are trying to discuss. It's not just the politicization of religion we're talking about, but more like, for me, the question has been, how has the state's homogenization of religious minorities politicized religion and deepened the socioeconomic and political marginalization of the most vulnerable minority communities in Pakistan? So, for past several years, our work has been, and most importantly, to understand this hypothesis, it's important to look at the composition of religious minorities in Pakistan, or overall religious composition. So, as per 2023, Islam is a state religion. Muslim communities of 96.47%. Hindus, they make up to 2.17%, but there are two categories, Hindu Jati, they are 1.73% as per the census, and the scheduled caste Hindu 0.41%. Now they have raised 0.57%. Ahmadiyas, they have their current population is 0.7%. Others include Baha'is, Buddhists, Jain, Jewish, Kailash, and now Sikh, they have a separate category, and they are overall 15,998,000. So it shows that predominantly we have 96% of the Muslim population. There are less than 4% of populations we're talking about. And more importantly, when we talk about marginalization, especially socioeconomic and political marginalization of certain minority communities, it is important to look at each minority group differently. I'm not going into details, but I'll share a case study that we did in 2023, 2024 general elections, exactly 2 years back, trying to understand these dynamics. And NA 127 was the hotspot, because 60,000 Christian voters right in the heart of Lahore, and we were able to speak to around 8,000 voters there. So, 60,000 means that every political party was of the view that Christians have the swing vote, and if we are able to woo them, we'll be able to win the elections. So, with those 8,142 Christian respondents, we listed at least 25 challenges or issues or problems they were facing, including the issues that we have discussed here, like forced conversions, blasphemy, or their mode of elections. But among all of them, around, 44% women, 56% men, and we saw that more than 6,000 people, their top priority was provision of gas, clean drinking water, sewage, roads, garbage, employment, education. Only 124 people said that we want political representation of our own in the assemblies. Only 27 said that forced conversion was an issue. And very few also mentioned blasphemy as a top issue. So this hypothesis that we try to verify with this big, it's a population census we're talking about, that 8,000 people all coming. So this framework actually helped us provide, and before that, the work we did, how certain religious minorities are privileged and some are marginalized. So homogenizing all these minority groups has damaged us more than anything that we are talking about here. And without dehomogenizing and looking at each minority group with the size of their population, for example, when we talk about, but I'll focus Christians here more, because having largest concentration in Punjab, and Christians being 3% of 3.7% of the total population, it shows that they're disproportionately represented in menial jobs, including sanitation work. So look at the formation of any municipality, and you will see that despite the fact that in past several years, due to our campaign, and I take pride in that identity, I have worked on so many things as a human rights lawyer, as a policy analyst, as part of parliament, but I have seen that this work has given more credibility to understand, and the only religious minority community that has been stigmatized with the word, with the N word, the slur chuda that we don't even want to hear. And my desire or my fury has been that started back in 2014 when I came into public life, that why only Christians are required as sweepers, and how Christian, sanitation worker, and chuda have become synonymous to each other. And it doesn't matter if I'm not working in a sanitation work. So it is very much pertinent and relevant to all the questions we are asking here, that this socio-economic and political marginalization of certain minority groups have put them in a position where they cannot even speak about it, and most importantly, where we do not talk about the context, the history, why we have reached to that situation. And even if we have the most empowered Minority Rights Commission here, are we going to look at the structural issues that have reached us to this level, that even if it's Jarawala, the people who were accused of blasphemy, they were sanitation workers. What happened in Joseph Colony? He was a sanitation worker. And how the most vulnerable communities, especially in Punjab, Christians who are highly concentrated in slums, informal neighborhoods, who are predominantly, overwhelmingly employed in menial jobs like domestic work and sanitation work, bricklaying work, agri work. So all these kind of this, so I mean, for me, it is very important to understand the history, the context, how we started, how Pakistan has looked at religion, and it's not post 1947.
Right.
I want to make very sure that there's this context, and just by referring to August's speech does not solve everything. Just because founding father wanted this that way, what happened with minorities afterwards, and more importantly, and I'm going to conclude it here, Section 263, the second amendment, homogenizing and making a clear distinction who is Muslim and non-Muslim, has put most marginalized communities by declaring Ahmadis and clubbing them with other religious minorities groups,
Yes.
have done more damage than anything else. And I think it is important for us to look at each religious minority differently in order to understand their political marginalization and their socio-economic underprivileged status. And without that, we cannot make any recommendations. And until we are ready to look at, in the historical perspective, that how we have reached there, it will be very difficult. And especially the forced conversion issues. Have you ever seen any high caste or any upper class young girl or woman being converted to another religion? So any minor cases of early child marriage or forced conversions, they all are coming from the same caste marginalized religious minority groups. And it is not just the forced conversion, but ideologically motivated sexual grooming as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary.